Hi, everybody. How are you? Good evening. My goodness, a lot of things have happened this evening. I've been busy all day and I wanted to react earlier. Actually, I was wanting to react to Chantal's gaming stream. I took a look at it. I started reacting, but it just got too incredibly boring. Well, things just got interesting. So I'm sure a lot of you have already heard that there is a channel called Mr. Snowflake who has a docu-series in the works based around Foodie Beauty. And he put out a trailer, a very well done trailer of the docu-series. I thought the trailer was just brilliant. Chantal got word of it and she had a complete total meltdown. The docu-series isn't even released yet. It's just the trailer and she just had an absolute fit. And she posted a little video going off on Mr. Snowflake. Now, Mr. Snowflake did a kind of a reaction video to Chantal, and again, that was brilliant. He was throwing the silent shade. He had the YouTube silver play button in the background in the room and a couple of very interesting books. He was being quite cheeky, throwing that book shade with purpose. And she also decided to do a 3 hour live, where she did nothing but rage about French Fry Girl and all the reaction channels, and it just got crazy. So, knowing Chantal, knowing how she is with her rages, I made sure to download the entire 3 hour live just in case she gets rid of it, and more than likely she will because she's going off on everybody. So, I got my copy. And I'm going to go ahead and react to this shorter video where she is just in a mood. And I'm going to give my thoughts. Before we get into that, though, let's get into this stuff on Twitter because there's a lot of very interesting stuff on Twitter. Everybody just like chiming in and giving their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And I do like to share those as well. So let's just go there to Twitter. Okay, so those of you that are on Twitter, if you'd like to join me on Twitter, it's Wild Girl Sarah. So Busy Little Bee says, I feel like this is strictly for views. They've been dwindling, and this gave her the perfect opportunity to rage when she's really mad at her husband, is known as Scatman across the internet. Snowflake is an easy target in her eyes. I can't wait for his series. Neither can I. I think it's going to be well done. The trailer was excellent. Why wouldn't the docu-series be excellent? I've also heard that due to her rant, he's going to change a few things. So I'm very interested to see the changes. But you guys can see right here, courtesy of Busy Little Bee, the thumbnail for the docu-series, because she included it with her react. That's what it looks like. So I would love to see it, Mr. Snowflake. I would love to. Okay, this is from Mo. Mo translates. How you doing, Mo? We've been missing you in Girl World. This has to do with the live stream that Chantal did. Mo says, this is crazy. Chantal is making it so obvious that Salah is clearly no longer there. And if she doesn't stop raging and yelling at 4 in the morning, she's going to get herself in trouble. Yeah, about that. So she's trying to tell all of us in Girl World that Salah is there. But yet, when he really was there, she wasn't able to live stream at late hours, especially being loud. So the more she goes off at 4 a.m., the more obvious it is that he is not there. Methinks that perhaps he stays in another apartment and then he just drops off food and whatnot. Mo also follows up with Chantal. This has to do with the crazy Inception live streaming. Mo says Chantal is reacting to Yo Mama, reacting to Kaya, and reacting to FFG, reacting to Chantal and raging at FFG, reacting with Shannon, and reacting to Zachary Michael, reacting to Amber Lynn with a brief clip of Alex's Shook, reacting to Chantal, all while raging at Mr. Snowflake. You can't make this up. We have reached that level of Girl World Inception, y'all. Layer after layer after layer. It's just gonna keep going to infinity. That's what happened tonight. Like, she is pulling out all the stops, all the things she's been doing lately, trying to get extra views, doing the gaming content, doing the true crime podcast, the cooking, the mukbangs. None of that has been taken off for her. So now she's back to raging at the reactors because she's got nothing left. Alex is shook, says raging about a documentary that hasn't even come out yet. That's the crazy thing. That's the nutty thing about it all. She's raging about the docuseries, the documentary, and it's not even been released. She has no idea what's going to be said or how it's going to be said, but she's already mad. So why is that? Why is Chantal so angry if it's not even in front of the public? If you take a few steps back away from the situation and you look at it, I think perhaps the reason why Chantal is so angry is a couple of reasons. She likes to talk about her past, and she's comfortable about her talking about her past because she can control the narrative. But when somebody else decides to talk about her past, she can't control the narrative because it's not her script. She's a control freak. So anything out of her control, she's not going to be happy with. Second reason, there's a lot of people in her audience that are new beezers. They have no idea of the Chantal lore. Some of us know it. They have no idea about the things she's done on YouTube. They got to the party late. So when documentaries or docuseries like perhaps what Mr. Snowflake is about to release, when they come along, there's a chance they're going to find out a whole lot of things about a whole lot of things that they did not know. And Chantal, for her part, on her channel, she's trying to hang on to every beezer she can because money is not so great. So maybe that's the reason why she's freaking out, is that she's tried so hard to hide her past from her new beezers. She's deleted live streams. She's deleted videos. She's putting on this false image of herself, this pious image, which is totally not her. And she wants everyone to believe that narrative and not know about the other part. Well, Chantal, if you exploit everything about your life for years, you can't just expect that when you want it to go away, that it's going to go away, because that's not how it works. Okay, so DX was doing kind of a recap of things, saying she admits that, talking about Chantal, she admits she lied about the cameos being exclusive for list celebrities and up. Well, that's obvious, because myself and quite a few others on Twitter and YouTube, we now have cameos. So she would have to admit to that, because the proof is out there. If you've got smaller YouTubers, even people on Twitter saying, I got a cameo, I guess it's not an exclusive country club. Clicking through the stream because she couldn't be bothered to take timestamps down. She apologizes, saying she's a lazy freaking creator. Well, I wouldn't exactly call what she's doing as creating, because there's no thought involved. It's just slapping stuff together and putting it on YouTube for a little bit of coin. I don't really call that creating, but that's just my opinion. This is courtesy of Kristen. This is the screenshot because Mr. Snowflake did a reaction to her rant. But here's the comment below the video. This person's comment says, isn't it weird that she loves your documentary about Life by Jen, but invalidates a doc about her before she's even seen it? Yeah, isn't that strange? Isn't that weird? A documentary about somebody else she's cool with, but a documentary about her she's not so cool with. Again, trying to control the narrative, and it's out of her control. It's not her script. Indy says she's trying to prevent her audience from watching it. Yep. This is totally a preemptive strike. I'm kind of reminded of something. Let's see if you guys agree. Remember how Frenchie was about to go live regarding the dispensary, And before she'd even gone live and said a word, Chantal had a knee-jerk emotional reaction. She went live and had a total meltdown. I'm kind of getting the same feel in this situation too. Like a sense of angry panic, like trying to get ahead of things instead of being behind. So, preemptive strike. Not sure what the documentary is going to be about, not sure what it's going to say, how she's going to be portrayed. It, the feeling that I'm getting is somebody who knows they've done wrong. They know they've done a lot of wrong, a lot. And because there's been so much wrong done, so many offensive things done, not sure which things are going to come back out. And they're just trying to get ahead of it all. Like, when you're guilty of a mountain of wrong and you're trying desperately to pick up a broom and sweep it under a rug, and there's just too much. You don't know what dirt's going to come back out from under the rug and say, hi. Book lady says Mr. Snowflake right now. Yep, I would say so. Miss Goral says, not Mr. Snowflake telling Chantal if she keeps up the work, she may get a silver play button like he has hanging in the background. The shade of it all. Well played, Mr. Snowflake. Well played. D. Angry Scott says, I'd like Foodie Beauty to provide a list of required qualifications for judging her being an unstable mess and sharing it online. I didn't know we had to be qualified. I thought we'd just be regular people watching her content, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of her content. You watch someone for hundreds and hundreds of hours. Shouldn't that be reason enough that you can give an opinion based on patterns of behavior from someone and the things they do? I think so. Chantal's untied apron string says, quote, most of the information was not given by me, unquote. Unless he uses clips from deleted videos that are still archived on the internet, meaning he wouldn't just be reporting what he was told by haters, but what you literally said and did online for the world to see. Yeah, that's the most beautiful part about the docu-series or documentary. When you're someone like Chantal and you have a YouTube channel and you make it your business to document everything, your health problems, anything that's wrong with you, your relationships, all of it, you leave nothing to chance. You put it on the internet, it's there forever. And try as you might to hide some of it, it's always going to pop up somewhere. Her own actions, her own words, her own video clips, her own live streams coming back to bite her in the butt again and again and again. Chantal's untied apron strings also says, quote, I don't care if you make a documentary about me, says Chantal as she rages for 15 minutes straight just from seeing the preview trailer for said documentary. So if you don't care, why are you getting so mad, Foodie? You're the most bothered, unbothered person I know. Miss Anthropov says, makeup channel, fail. Weight loss channel, fail. Couples channel, fail. Reaction channel, briefly, fail. What else we got here? Is there more? Now she's trying true crime. Well, that was a fail too. You ain't got it like that, girl. Be your authentic train wreck self, Chantal. Stay real. Can we add a few more to that list, Miss Anthropo? ASMR channel, fail. Gaming channel, fail. She's failed at cooking channel, fail. Health channel, fail. I mean, we just keep going. We could just keep going. So many failures here. And all because she's doing content she's really not passionate about and she's not bothering to research. Michael B. Petty says, Foodie Beauty is spiraling about the Mr. Snowflake documentary. I love that for her. Babes, you gave him all the info for this because of your inability to keep that trap closed. So true. So true, Mr. Petty. All that running of the mouth is coming back to haunt her. Poltergeista says, this is my absolute favorite comment under the teaser video for the new Foodie Beauty doc. The tiny reading dragon says, Chantal, quote, I will not be talking about my fake marriage, health, and personal life anymore. Mr. Snowflake enters the chat. Let's see how much she clams up now. Let's see. Hidden Truth says, Foodie Beauty Chantal talks about a new documentary that someone made of her again, and she's angry that they are retelling the truth about her past. She says that her past doesn't warrant such a long documentary like that. She's moved on, and so should you. Well, if you're someone and you've been on YouTube for what, 6, 7 years, you can't just do a short video. Trying to condense 6 years into like an hour or a docuseries, that's still tough. I mean, much applause and hats off and much respect to anybody doing any kind of a documentary or a docuseries. Like all the research you have to do, all the homework and gathering of the clips and piecing it all together and making everything cohesive into a storyboard. That can take so long. So long. And that's a lot of work. Chantal has no idea how long it takes to make a documentary like that. Let's see what else we got here. We're getting past all this food. Okay, is that it? I think that's it. Okay, cool. Then we can move on to the actual video where she's being a rage potato. Nice. So that's it for the catch up on Twitter. So let's get into our actual video. Let's see. Let me just back it up real quick. Let's back it up. Rage, more rage. Okay, let's go, y'all.
This video is going to be me addressing these dumb documentaries made about me. Well, they're not just about me. There are a lot made about other creators as well.
Right.
I'm doing this because there's a channel that, just like the rest, picks on content creators they see as failures, I guess. And it's usually either Amberlynn or I find it weird that a grown man chooses to obsess over the lives of the two same women, basically beating a dead horse, but whatever. Speaking of beating dead horses, figuratively, not literally, of course, this new quote-unquote docu-series being made about me will not, by the way, spoiler, will not contain anything new that you haven't heard a million times before. Also from...
This is her basically just trying to say without saying, you guys have heard this before, so don't bother watching. Again, preemptive strike. She's running, is it defense or offense, like in football? Like she's running offense. You know, like I'm basically, she's going to put all of her beezers in a huddle, gather them all to her. Look over here. Don't look over there. Just pay attention to me. Don't watch the docuseries. Don't watch the documentary. You guys have seen it all, heard it all before. Well, if that's true, Chantal, if they've seen it all before, if they've heard it all before, what are you worried about? Right? If they've seen it all and they've heard it all before, then you have nothing to worry about. So why are you so stressed? Why are you so pressed? Because if it's the same old, nobody's going to be surprised, right? So why be so worried? You're worried because you know that's not true. You are terrified of what that docuseries will show. You know all the things you've done on YouTube over the last 6, 7 years. You know your history, how offensive you've been. You know that there's newbies in your audience. There's a lot of stuff that they are not aware of. they are blissfully unaware of. And you want to keep it that way because you don't have many members these days, do you? No. And you're afraid of losing even more. And every time somebody does a documentary or docuseries, there's a chance you might lose some.
These few other overly dramatic, embellished bullcrap documentaries, such
She's making judgment calls about a docuseries or a documentary and it's not even been released. Already throwing judgment and it's not even out yet. How can you form an opinion about something when you've not seen it? You've not heard it. It could be completely complimentary. I don't really think that it is, but I'm just saying, like you're raging without having a real reason to rage, all because you're scared.
such as Canadian Horror Story, for example. First off,
By the way, Chantal, good job. Good job right there. So it bothers you when your beezers look at these docu-series or documentaries about you, and you just told your beezers another one, Canadian Horror Story. So any new beezer that you're not familiar with a lot of the lore, check out Canadian Horror Story. That's been around for quite a while. I think you'll be very interested to see what's going on. There's a lot of great places and a lot on YouTube that have documentaries all about Chantal. Stuff that I'm sure she'll never tell you.
a documentary is supposed to be educational. There's nothing educational about me, about these videos, because you were only able to make conclusions based on limited information about my life. What is educational about me eating and telling stories from my past? For
Did anybody say that the docu-series or documentary was supposed to be educational? It could be for entertainment purposes only, just like a tarot reading. It doesn't necessarily mean we're here for an education on Chantal. No, it could just to be entertained, just like you'd watch a movie on Netflix.
example, my life is really not that interesting, nor is my content.
Did y'all hear that? My life is not that interesting, nor my content. I love how she tells on herself. She just basically said without saying, I am boring. My content is boring. That just came out of her own mouth. So that is her opinion about herself and her channel. I'm boring. So why do you get so offended, Chantal, when everybody else calls you boring? You just called yourself boring. You just you just put yourself down right there, although you're not wrong.
To warrant 3 hours of an in depth character study that these creators fabricate. Not only that, they try to analyze me from what seems to be a psychological approach or, about my eating disorder or other matters when they're not even qualified to do that. Being
Ma'am, ma'am, nobody is trying to be a doctor or a nurse on YouTube, unless, of course, they are an actual doctor or nurse. And even then, you are not their patient. But not you over here talking about nobody else is qualified. Have you forgot about all the times that you've gotten on YouTube and you've spread misinformation, dangerous misinformation? Yeah, you did. You were acting like you were qualified when you weren't. You over there sending out these dangerous mixed signals and messages of you can be a diabetic and you can eat all kinds of junk food and processed food as long as you take your pills. You don't have to exercise. Just take the medication and keep your blood sugar down to a level where you don't go into diabetic coma. Yeah, you did that. You acting like you know what you're talking about, yet you're going to attack somebody else for not knowing what they're talking about. Are you sure you want to go there?
Being some edgelord living in your parents' basement reading Kiwi Farms all day does not make you a credible source of information. You are not Dr.
Well, at the same time, ma'am, you get on YouTube acting like you know what you're talking about when you are incredibly sick. And I don't think anybody on YouTube that comes to your channel, whether they're a beezer or someone that just happened to innocently wander into your room, nobody should listen to you or go to you for advice about nutrition, about health, about anything. You need help. You shouldn't be offering help. You're not in the position to do so.
You are not therapists, and you are certainly not experts on my life. So each of these dumb documentaries starts off with some dramatic cinematic intro. Imagine, like, how am I that interesting? Anyway, I guess I'm flattered. So the music is super annoying because it sets the tone of sadness, hopelessness, drama, regret. Again, speculating that we as the subjects feel that way about our lives. Maybe some do, that's their problem. I don't, and here's why. And here's why I don't care if people cancel me, unsub, make 4-hour documentaries about me. It's because I know I'm human. I know I'm flawed. Show me one person with a perfect life or past, and I'll shut up. Just one.
And that is her default. That's Foodie's default. Nobody's perfect. I'm no angel. Like, that is her default. That is her back door. That is her excuse for behaving badly. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's asking Foodie to be perfect. Nobody's expecting her to be perfect. Perfection is just, it's a pipe dream. It's just, perfection is something that they use in magazines and on TV to give the illusion that there is something like perfection that could be obtained, although it can't. Not in the real. It's just something you see in the magazine to sell perfume or a pair of shoes. But that is her default. Like, by saying she's not perfect, that gives her room to act badly, and people will just simply excuse it. We're not asking you to be perfect, Chantal. Just be a decent human being. Can you manage that? I mean, I know this is kind of a tall order for you, but try to work on it a little bit.
God made obstacles for us as tests. Life is personal and each individual has their own tailored path. So, unless, and this is key, unless you are living in that person's shoes or life path, you really cannot say what you would do or how you would react to certain situations because you are not living it. You will always be looking from the outside in, and that gives you a very limited view. Trust me.
And yet, Chantal, don't you always go in on people and their situations? You put down people for the way they look, for where they live, for how they live, for their looks, for their weight. Ragging on people for allegedly living in motel rooms. Anything is a point of criticism for you. So now you're saying, well, you shouldn't judge somebody because you're not walking in their shoes, but yet you judge all the time, don't you? So you can do it, but nobody's allowed to do it to you. Rules for me, but not for thee.
Second, I have not done anything so terrible as to warrant that much criticism.
Oh, I beg to differ. You've done so many things. So many things. Horrible things. Shall I go over the list? Do y'all have a minute? Let's see. During the Natter era, yeah, driving while intoxicated. She was giggling and confessing to running over small animals, doing the Nazi salute, using racial slurs. Yeah, all of that. Coming on camera, mocking the Uvalde school shooting victims, doing the finger guns, playing pumped up kicks. She even went so far as to put a blown up picture of one of the grieving mothers on her community post, and she left it up there for quite a while, claiming that she was a victim of DV and SA when she never was. She was just profiting off of other people's pain and suffering and trying to trauma bond with her audience. I mean, we could just be here all day talking about the offensive things that she's done over the years.
I'm sorry, but it's true. People pick apart every little detail, irrelevant, trivial details. If I play a video game I suck at the first time I play it as a first timer amateur, which is normal, that somehow warrants a 5-hour live stream. Similarly with these documentaries, a 3-hour ordeal.
So what are you mad at, Chantal? Because you did the gaming stream and maybe some people reacted to it. I was actually in the process of reacting to it, but it just got too boring because there was more complaining and you standing still and saying, I don't know what to do versus actual playing. I was like 30 minutes and I'm like, I quit because it's just, you're not doing anything. I just said bye. And then you did all this tonight. And you're the one that wants to do the gaming stream. If you're trying to look for different areas of YouTube that you can make money, you're trying to spread out and explore, you've got to do your homework. You've got to do your research. You've been on YouTube for what, 7, 8 years? You have no excuse for the amateurish content. You have no excuse for not doing your homework and taking your cliff notes. And like, as far as a video game, you got all the time in the world to watch a tutorial or watch a playthrough and know exactly what you need to do. But I think you get a kick out of doing the laziest content and giggling that you can still make money with it.
On me eating pasta and going on and off diets and talking about my abuser and low-key victim shaming. Sorry, former abuser. This new series.
You know what? I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to say anything to trigger anybody. This is just my point of view, okay? The more she brings up Natter, the more it becomes very apparent to me that the things she said that Natter did to her didn't actually happen. Because if somebody hurts you in that way, you want to get as far away from that person as possible in every way. Physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically. You just want to put some distance between yourself and that person. You don't want to think of them. You don't want to say their name. You don't want to think of their name. You don't want to be anywhere or around anything that might remind you of that person. You want to shove that person as far back into the past part of your mind as you can. Put it in the darkest corner and leave it there. But the more she talks about Natter, like when she talks about him, she's put him in the front of her mind. And if somebody has hurt you in that way, why would you want to think about it? Why would you want to talk about it? How could you talk about it so freely without some kind of visceral reaction? Because if you start thinking about that person, you're going to start reliving in your head some things that have happened to you, correct? And yet she could talk about him so easily. So sorry, I'm not buying that something happened between her and Natter.
Series about to come out again. This has this ridiculous cinematic trailer, and the first sentence from the intro song they so carefully chose for it starts with basically, "You are the reason your father wasn't there." Nice choice of song. Blaming a child for their father being a deadbeat, absent parent, it's never the child's fault. I can tell already by the stage that was set with this trailer, this will also be a load of crap series. But nonetheless, it's very lucrative because there's a lot of haters who will eat it up with a fork and spoon. Like I
You know what? I'm sure the docu-series or the documentary is going to be Excellent. But you know, we're eating up with a fork and spoon, Chantal. And we've also got our plate out. And your rage, your rage is delicious. We didn't even have to wait for the documentary to come out to get the rage. You gave us dessert before the main course. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Said, beating a dead horse. We already heard my life story. We already blamed me for dropping the charges, which, if you simply use Google, many women in narcissistic abusive situations do that. It's the past.
I am so sick of her bringing that up. Are y'all sick of her bringing that up? Do you find it as disgusting as I do? I find it disgusting. I find it really disgusting because it seems like Chantal has a definite pattern for using the pain of others and weaving that into her web of stories and making it seem like her experience. So let's go over some of the patterns. Her grandmother had sciatica, and recently Chantal talked about having sciatica, talked about the symptoms of sciatica, although those of us that have watched her, the way she was reacting, it's obvious she never had it. But given what her grandmother had been through with it, I'm sure she was able to talk about the issue, maybe because she heard her grandmother talk about the issue. Then she also mentioned a story of either working or volunteering at a battered women's shelter. Isn't it funny that after that experience, much later on, she gets on YouTube and she creates this whole story arc of Natter is abusive. He's got the black eyed rage. I'm so scared of him. I need a safety word, paper clips. So she came up with all this dialogue, but yet there were a lot of pieces of that puzzle missing. A lot of things missing because she's never really been a victim. And because she's never really been a victim, she would know about those things. Like when you start talking about the things that have happened to you, you're going to have a visceral reaction because, in a way, you're reliving it in your head. And you can't get online and talk about what's going on with you in front of thousands of people. It's just too difficult. Like, these are things she would know being a fake, phony victim because she's never been through it. But isn't it funny how she worked or volunteered at a battered women's shelter, and then later on she comes up with this whole arc of Natter being abusive? Even though, and I just want to bring this up, in the beginning of her relationship with Natter, she would come home from his house with bruises on her chest and she was proud of them. Y'all remember that? I do. She was proud to show off those bruises. She couldn't wait to show them off to the camera. We had rough sex. Yeah. Now, if he had been abusive and gave her those bruises, she would have been covering them up. But in the beginning, she was talking about, oh, he's so rough, blah, blah, blah. So it went from I'm consenting to this kind of intimacy to she gets mad at him and then now he's abusive. Bullocks. Bullocks. You're a fake, phony victim, Chantal. Always have been, always will be.
Don't live there anymore. You are reliving someone's trauma and someone's past for your own gain. It's weird and all too common. Anything.
Isn't that exactly what you're doing? You're borrowing off of other people's pain and trauma for the sake of YouTube profit. Yeah, you are.
Thing I have gone through is normal because many have gone through similar things. Getting too drunk and saying things we don't mean. For example, Cuba rage gets rubbed in my face like I give a crap that I raged on my abuser after being subjected to a weekend of having my car keys and phone hidden and being pushed into situations.
Oh, shut up. She She hates the fact that she cannot get away from the Cuba rage. Oh, that burns her butt. The fact that we will not let her forget the Cuba rage. Do you want to know why it's infamous, Chantal? Would you like to know why? I'll do you a solid, girl. Why is it infamous? It's because of one reason. You were so on your high horse during the Cuba rage. You were so full of yourself. Your ego was so out of control that you literally let your mask slip. You were so in your arrogance that you actually had the balls, not in the physical sense, but just the mental sense. You actually had the the guts to look in the camera and say, like, I'm gonna come online and manipulate the F out of you. And then I'll come on later and be sweet as pie and all of you will eat it up. Like, you were basically self-confessing to your audience you are a manipulative person with no F's given. Basically telling the audience, I know that you're all addicted to me. And no matter what I do to you, no matter what pain I put you through, no matter how abusive I am, I know you'll forgive me and you'll come back and you'll allow me to act badly because I've done all this stuff to you and you've allowed it so far. Manipulative, narcissistic, abusive behavior. You're so full of yourself that night and you're so angry when we bring up the Cuba rage.
I was not comfortable with. The Uvalde incident. I didn't write pumped up kicks, by the way. I didn't.
No, but you made sure to play it when people told you it's offensive because of the school shooting. You made a point to keep playing it over and over and over again that night, purposely doing the finger guns. Even Pete, who was sitting beside you on the bed, was like, "Oh my God, she's lost it. This is so bad. This is so bad." He knew it was bad. Yet you wanted people to get angry with you. You were gaslighting people to get angry with you.
Attack kids. That is something that gets twisted again. This is a perfect example. I remember sobbing for them and mocking the gun culture of the
You know
US.
what? You know what? Just save it, Chantal. You were sobbing for those kids. Were you sobbing for that grieving mother whose picture you put on your community post? The blown up picture of the grieving mother of one of the victims of that shooting? Were you grieving for her too while she was grieving for her child? No? Then shut up.
Because it's not a secret that the US has a problem with shooters. There's a
Oh,
shooting
shut up.
every other day. I was also very drunk, and maybe my delivery was in poor taste, but I would never mock deceased children. Again, another example of how things get twisted to make me look bad. Well, if people want
We're mocking the children, you are mocking the parents as well. You're mocking the whole doggone thing. Look, Chantal, why can't you just be honest that you're on YouTube and the way you make money is to be as negative and triggering and offensive and foul as possible? That is your shtick. That's always been your shtick. And you're gung ho about finding anything that you can find just to get one more view or one more like or one more membership. And because you've been so gung ho about that, you've reached a place where you hit the ceiling. There's nothing more that you could do to shock us. There's nothing more that you could show us. You've reached the end of the line. Like, we've seen every part of your body that there is to see without wanting to see it. Flashing us on YouTube, you just done it all. Okay? You've hit the wall. There's nowhere else to go. And you're not bothering to come up with new ideas.
to believe these things about me, I don't care. Recently, I was accused of giggling while telling a true crime story. Again, to make me look like a villain. Giggling because the perpetrator had a funny last name, not because someone was victimized, you morons. My cat's nail situation. Again, I've explained a million times what happened. I don't care if you don't believe it or not. And I certainly don't care if I'm hated. I get asked that a lot. Do you care you are so hated? No, of course not. I'm also very loved.
So if you don't care if you're hated, why are you reacting so badly right now? Why are you so angry? If you don't care, then why do you care? I mean, make it make sense.
And I'm grateful to have experienced everything in my life because I trust in God's plan for me. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, people like to throw the fact that as a 15-year-old, I faked an unaliving incident for attention. I was very mentally ill. I was admitted to inpatient, even, and I had a lot of issues. Again,
Okay, I don't want to get this story wrong, but I just heard something tonight about the story of the unaliving situation. That wasn't actually Chantal's story. That was actually something relating to just Shannon, something that happened with her. I don't want to get this story wrong here. I don't have all the details, but that was actually something that's centered around just Shannon. So it seems like, again, there's a pattern here. Her grams had sciatica. Suddenly, years later on YouTube, Chantal's going to talk about sciatica. She's going to borrow off of her grandmother's experience and act like her pain is Chantal's pain. Although, because Chantal's never been in that kind of pain, she doesn't know what it actually feels like. So she doesn't know how to fake it well. Then the whole situation of being at the battered women's shelter. She heard their stories, but because she's never experienced that inner pain, she doesn't have all the pieces to the puzzle. Now here we are again with the story revolving around Chantal wanting to unalive herself. That's a story that she told, and I just found out that it wasn't really Chantal's story. That it something to do with just Shannon. So borrowing off of other people's pain and suffering for profit and attention. That's how desperate she is.
that was 25 years ago. So get out of my face with that. Some of you haven't even been alive that long.
I've been around longer than you, Chantal. I am like 12, 13 years older than you. And I already want to take your mature woman card away from you and rip it in pieces. The way you behave.
Why are you all still ruminating and obsessing over my past when it's something I've moved on from?
Because, because although you're almost 40 years old, you've never moved on from the past. You live in the past. You want to take little walks down memory lane when it suits you. You feel free to talk about your past and bring things up, whether it's on YouTube or off. But if somebody else does it, they're in the wrong. I mean, make it make sense.
Certain incidents I have learned from and moved on. I grew up. As for the whole thing with Nattered,
Oh God.
I don't talk about that at all anymore if you haven't noticed, for a reason. I've moved on. So should all of you. That was a deeply traumatic time in my life, and the victim shaming and exploiting this
I,
situation.
I'm sorry. No, no, I'm not going to let you get away with that. It was a deeply traumatic time in my life. Yet you can sit here and say his name without having any kind of reaction. You can say his name so easily and just bring it up so easily. The lie detector test says that's a lie.
Over and over is gross. It's gross how people don't believe my story, even though there's video evidence of him being an abuser on video.
Not to you, though. Like we saw what was going on with Sam's Bar Lounge, and I'll be honest with you guys, like I have questions. Things looked a bit weird to me. I'm not gonna lie. After watching it a couple of times, I'm like, things look a bit strange. But Just a lot of things with you and him didn't add up. You were saying you were scared of him, and yet you were constantly in his face provoking him. If you're scared of somebody, where would you get the courage to provoke your abuser? Where would that come from? And then sitting online and talking about what was going on with you for thousands of people. No real victim could do that. Also, at the time, you were living at the villa. He was in Gatineau, and then he moved to Montreal. It wasn't like the two of you lived together. You always had the chance and the choice to stay away from him. All you had to do was block his number on your phone, never go back, and that would have been the end of it. You chose to go back. So whatever was going on between the two of you, you were comfortable being around him alone. He was so abusive, and yet you completely comfortable being in his presence alone many times over, even after the allegations.
Oh, and doo doo, you can keep your abusive, kitchen burning, belly dancing, cigarette money leeching man baby. But anyway, even if no one believes it, I don't care. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you make 1,000 crappy documentaries about the same subjects. Most of the information provided for the series was not given by me, someone who's actually lived these experiences, but rather from haters or
Chantal, I don't know your personal life. I don't know what happened to you, but I think somewhere something in you wants to be a survivor of something. You want to be able to say, I went through something really awful and I'm a survivor. I'm strong. I actually survived something awful to the point where you'll make stuff up. You want to be able to say that I got some sort of strength. Let me tell you something. Those of us that have been through stuff wish we hadn't been through it. But since we did go through it, that does make us survivors, and that does make us strong. But you're desperate to be a victim, just to be able to say, whatever's going on, it wasn't my fault. Oh, yes, it was. You were around Natter. That was a choice. That was not a forced choice. That was a choice that you made each and every time you wanted to see him. And by the way, on your last trip to Canada, Natter popped up with $500 in groceries and edibles. Care to address that? That was right about the same time that Natter gave problems to FFG. Coincidence? I don't know. Seems pretty strange that, like Natter gave Frenchie problems, and then later on he pops up with new groceries and edibles, and we know who likes edibles, and we know who used to buy him groceries. You know what I think? I think the two of you are still talking. I really do. I think that's the person you want to be with, not Salah. I think you are still obsessed with the one that you could never have. And there's part of you that wants him back. It's just that he's living with another woman and you can't have him back, but still, you long for him, don't you? Another thing. Do you know why your marriage to Salah never worked? There's a couple of reasons. One, he was never that into you. Two, because you're already married to food. I wish I could say that's a joke, but it's not. You're already married to food. Food is your lover, and you are very faithful to your lover. And as long as you hold on tightly to that one, you cannot have another mate. So you gotta pick, Chantal, what you're faithful to.
people with a negative view on my life and personality. People think they know me and my past more than I do myself, which is just absurd, for obvious reasons. These documentaries are therefore the least credible sources of information on me out there. Yes, sure, I have an eating disorder. I can't follow through with much and blah, blah, blah. We all heard this before, but I'm still here and I'm still trying and I'm not giving up. Most times you're wrong about me. Comes as no surprise though, seeing as you listen to critics, quote unquote, critics who are big jokes. They say I'm not married, for example, and you believe it without proof.
We got all the proof we need. We got all kinds of proof everywhere. The fact that we don't see Salah anymore, the fact that you're ragey all the time, you make excuses about why he's not around you. You're up at 3 in the morning raging on your community post, raging in videos, which if he were there, you wouldn't be able to do that. You're the the amount of food you're eating these days is through the roof. I mean, there's signs everywhere that things are not happy in paradise because happily married people do not act this way.
Even after I've stated that it is not legal for us to live together here if not married. No one listens, and stories are made up because I'm not living the reality you have created.
Wait, what? Say that again. I just want to hear that one part again.
Sins and stories are made up because I'm not living the reality you have created for me. It doesn't fit your narrative. You were wrong. Most of you still think it's only a matter of time before I return to the dumpster fire life, and some are sick and waiting for this. Some want me back with the abuser for entertainment. Can you?
Okay, Chantal. So let's examine what's going on here. Your dumpster fire life, as you call it. So you are in Kuwait. You're mainly alone. You're lonely. You're miserable. You're eating yourself stupid. If you went home to Canada, what would you do? Pretty much the same thing. So, what's the difference between being in Kuwait and being in Canada, except that if you were in Canada, if something happened to you, God forbid, at least you'd have your family there with you. They could come see you, they'd be closer to you. You're going to eat yourself stupid whether it's in Kuwait or Canada. But in Canada, you would have much more freedom. You would have the sangria Kia to go out and do what you want. You can't do that in Kuwait. You know, at this point in time, let's be real. You've already lost. I know that the most important thing to you is saving face on the internet. That matters more to you than your own health and all of your health problems. But you got to reach a point with playing with any game where you've got to swallow your pride and say, I've lost. It's not a matter of winning or losing anymore. You've already lost. Now it's down to how much am I willing to lose? How much am I going to lose? That's where you're at right now. How much do you want to lose? Smartest thing for you to do if you had like more than 2 brain cells in your head is to look at Salah and go, listen, this is not working. I'm going home to Canada. And go. You don't have to be with Natter. Just go back home because you're not happy in Kuwait. But for some reason, you just won't let him go. Salah's not into you. He's young. I'm sure he'd be just fine. You not so much. But you're determined to keep on with this ridiculous story arc that makes no sense. This whole thing has been blown open. All for the sake of pride. Well, what's that old saying? Pride goeth before a fall. How far are you willing to fall, Chantal?
Imagine? Sounds like a study on yourself would be more interesting. I made some poor choices in life, but I learn from them and I move on. Some I'm still working on. It's my life, my journey. All this drama is for nothing. People just still feeding off my past for profit. Another
And so are you, ma'am. And so are you.
thing people need to knock it off with is this accusing me of exploiting things that happened to me in my life.
You do all the time, everywhere, everything. I mean, we had a whole sciatica arc, which was ridiculous. Who does that? Who talks about sciatica for like a week? Makes it into a story arc? Well, you.
It's my life. I'm allowed to tell my story. The only
Int- Interesting choice of words. She's going to tell her story versus telling her truth. And anybody who's ever read a story, you know that a story can be made up, right? You could have a story that's mostly true or almost all the way true or completely false. But she always refers to everything as her story. And we know what a liar she is. So, what are the chances that her stories are false? They're made up. What is that word that Amberlynn Reed calls them? A hoot nanny. They're a collection of hoot nannies that form a story arc.
one exploiting things at this point are reactors and these dumb documentary makers. The past is the past. Move on. So I'm not allowed to
Those are the words that somebody says when they've got a lot to hide and they don't want anybody else to see. Deflection at its finest. Don't look over here, look over here. That's what I got from what she just said. My past is the past and it doesn't matter. She doesn't want anybody looking behind the curtain. She's afraid of what people will see and what they'll think of her and how much money she's going to lose if the Beezers do see that docu-series. Again, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about, right? You only worry that much when you got a whole lot to hide.
talk about my experiences, but you are allowed to talk about my experiences. Yes, I struggle with problems still in life, but they don't keep me down because why should they? We were designed to overcome things God throws at us. Read the Quran, it will help you understand these concepts. People try so hard every day to bring me down, and it doesn't work, and it never will.
That's the picture she wants to paint to everybody on her channel. Like, it's us against the world, and everybody's against me, and it's all about my weight, and they're just picking on me because I'm a woman of a bigger size. No. We'd still have stuff to say about Chantal if she were 120 pounds. It's not about her body mass. That is her issue to deal with or not. It's about who she is as a person. She would be as much of a train wreck at 120 pounds as she is at 550. It's not about the size of her body. It's that the inside of her soul. She got a very dark soul. She's very rude. She's very mean. That's why we talk about her.
Well, examine your heads and think of why you so desperately want someone to fail. It's a bizarre common ground in Gore World, and that's one of the reasons that community is a pile of dog crap. It exploits the same overweight women while most of the Gore World people are obsessed, overweight, uneducated, uncultured weirdos. Anyway, I wanted to address that, so please don't ever come and ask me, have you seen the trailer for the new series on you? I don't care. I don't care if I get canceled again. I don't care if you don't like my content. I mean, here's an example of
Another self admission. Another self admission. First, she tells the Beezers it's the docu series is going to have a bunch of stuff you've already seen before, although it's not been released yet. So how would she know? Now she's saying at the end, I'm going to get canceled again. Well, why would you be canceled? You're telling on yourself. Why would you be canceled, Foodie, if you've got nothing to hide? If it's stuff that everybody's seen before, why would you get canceled? Because you know there's more stuff out there. And you've always been looking over your shoulder to see where and when it's going to pop up.
another example of Gore World being ridiculous. Most of the reactors can't stand mukbangs, but watch every one I make in a 2 hour live stream.
Not me. I mean, if other reactors, if they're cool with that, if they've not had issues with food and they can deal with it and their audience can deal with it, more power to them. God bless them. I just can't. If there's interesting commentary in the video, I'll pull that out, but I don't want to see you eat. I can't. It turns my stomach. And I just don't like the idea, as someone that I've dealt with BED, and somebody might come across my reaction video and see you eat, and it might trigger them also. So no, I don't like that mukbang content. Horrible.
Weirdos, voila. Anyway, I'm done giving my opinion on these matters, but to summarize, the outrage and exaggerated contrived drama for views is stupid and entertainment fit for those with low intelligence. And no, just because I give my opinion on something doesn't mean I'm affected or bothered by it. By that logic, the reactors who talk about every single thing I do and screech about it for 3 hours straight are super bothered then. I just get asked a lot about my thoughts on all this criticism, quote unquote, not constructive, most of it, and these are my thoughts. Oh, and by the way, some advice is given out of caring and a good place. I'm not attacking you people. Anyway, I get told a lot my channel is tanking and I'm boring. I don't see it that way.
But you just said that at the beginning. You actually said that your content is boring. You said that in this video that your content is boring. So if we're saying it and you're saying it, then where's the argument?
I'm at a different phase in my life, and for me, it's exciting. And even if I'm battling health issues and an eating disorder, I'm still grateful for all God has given me, and I don't place my self worth in the words of Gore World or how much money I make. I saw one of these stupid documentaries talking about Boogie2988, another YouTuber, and while yes, he has done controversial, not so nice things,
You know, it's really strange. Like, she hates Girl World. She hates us. She hates Girl World. Oh, they're a bunch of bullies. And yet, when it suits her, we will become her content. Like tonight, she did a freaking live stream where she did nothing but talk about the reactors. So you hate us, but yet when it suits you, you'll make us into monetized content, Chantal. Make it make sense.
sometimes the whole documentary was keeping track of his net worth and how much money he had. He even says he's worthless at one point because he has no money. Money does not determine your worth as a person.
You know, I'm of the opinion with Chantal that she's a walking cautionary tale. She's also living, walking, talking proof that money doesn't buy happiness. And there's an old saying that I remember hearing. Somebody said somewhere to me, like, some people are so broke, all they have is money. That is foodie to the T. She's like the walking proof that money does not buy happiness, because that's all she's got. She doesn't have her health. She doesn't have her mental health, her physical health. All she has is that YouTube paycheck, and that's getting smaller by the day.
The sad music documentary basically making a person seem worthless because they are broke. Maybe God made him broke to teach him that his net worth is not measured in dollars and cents. But that's for him to learn. I will never ever let money affect my emotions or gratitude for life. This is one big thing I've learned in life that has been so valuable to me. Wealth is not monetary to me at all. At one point, when I was making, let's say, $20,000 a month, I still wasn't happy. I blew through it just like Boogie did, and I don't care about it even 1% now.
She should be embarrassed. All the money that she's made on YouTube over the years, and what does she have to show for any of it? Nothing. She can't even justify all the things she's done on YouTube that were offensive and vulgar. She can't look at us and go, yeah, I was offensive and I did this and I did that, but here's the reason why. There was a purpose to it all. There was no purpose. She was just out to be as offensive as possible to get as much attention and money as possible. All the story arcs, all of the offensiveness, all the vulgarness, ticking people off, getting a bad reputation for what? She has nothing to show for it all. Nothing at all.
How can I regret an experience I needed to happen to learn from it? To learn that value of that money, I had to lose it first. This is how I try to look at life in a positive manner. It's not possible to avoid making human error. The important thing is to realize they will happen and learn from them. If you keep making the same error, you haven't learned how to deal with the problem yet. It's okay, forgive yourself and be patient. Trust and turn to God. He's in control of your life when you can't be. Anyway, you can make 1,908 documentaries about me, as I've said, and my past and the turd chef. I don't give a flying crap at all anymore. That I promise you. Again, same crap, different dramatic cinematic intro, all to study a life I've shared openly myself anyway. I always expose myself because I'm not ashamed to be human. I'm not ashamed to admit my life has had many errors and is indeed a speckled axe, but it's also perfectly imperfect. And it is my own, and I can't complain. I have a loving family, a few good friends, a loving husband. Yes, there's been a scandal and it's not perfect, but we're giving it a chance, and there's so much good besides that. And it's been so good since that. And if it turns out to be the wrong decision, oh well, I'll move on like I always do. We have a car, a condo by the ocean, food, pets, travel experience, the freedom to do it.
Yeah, about that. So just a theory. Just a theory. I think the reason why Foodie went back to Kuwait is because when she went home to Canada, she didn't have the money to get her own place, especially with a bankruptcy. I mean, just without a bankruptcy, it costs like 5, 6 grand, 7 grand to get a 1 bedroom, depending on where you live. She probably didn't have that much in pocket when she went home. And she knew she already had a place set up in Kuwait, so that's why she went back there. Essentially, she might be financially stuck.
Whatever we want, to travel, and most importantly, I have my faith. I feel rich in many ways, and none have to do with money. You can always
You know
make
what, Foodie? If you have reached a point in your life where you are zen, then your energy and your actions and your words would reflect that. And we might believe you. But if you're full of rage and your behaviors are the same, and the things you say are the same, you're the same person. You have not changed at all. I don't care if you're wearing a hijab and a abaya. It's not Chantal underneath them. It's Foodie Beauty. Like the person that created the persona disappeared a long time ago. And now it's just the persona, and the persona has completely taken over.
money. Money comes and goes. Anyways, thanks for listening. I will end with saying that I will not be watching any of these new series coming out
Oh, yes, she will. She just won't admit to it, but she will.
about me or any reactions, which I never watch their videos directly anyway.
Oh, so even if she doesn't watch the docu-series from Mr. Snowflake, she's nosy. She's going to be on the Twitters, and she's going to be on the reaction channels, and if we're reacting to the docu-series, she's going to catch wind of it. I promise you. How could she not? She can't keep her nose in her own backyard. She's going to see it.
So I have better things to do. Heck, even picking my nose and staring at the wall is
You sound like you've been doing that.
more productive than watching someone discuss how I stir a pot for 3 hours or how I walk weird.
Okay, then, like if you don't like our content, we bore you. Why do you keep watching us? Why do you keep getting mad?
Anyways, guys, see you in the next video.
Yeah, okay. Like this rage was so unnecessary. The docu series is not even out yet. You're getting mad way too soon. Way too soon. Okay, let's go into the comments. Eddie Bruv says, congratulations on giving Snowflake information on topics that he wasn't even aware of. Yeah, she kind of clowned herself there. She clowned herself with that one. Like, we love foodies. She tells on herself. She absolutely tells on herself. What else we got here? Oh, she edited them. It's okay. So that's it for my react video. And I downloaded the 3 hour live, and I'll probably react to that later. I just want to get my copy before Chantal got rid of it, because who knows how long it's going to be up. Knowing her, she's going to dirty delete. But if she does, I'll just upload it to my page and list it, put it on listed or private, and then I'll just react to it. I don't care. So I got my copy. Nah, Chantal. All right, that's it for this react video. If you liked it, please like it, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you so much for being here, and have a good day. Bye.